This weekend I went to the London Watch Show, not as a YouTube celebrity or special guest, but as a watch nerd, like you guys. Let's talk about my trip and what I thought about the show, good and some bad. I'm Andy and welcome to the English Watch. This channel is about me and my watch collecting journey, an amateur enthusiast with an eye for detail, always looking behind the watch for the story, helping similar like-minded individuals like you start your watch collecting journey. Before we get started, hit the like button if you like this video and don't forget to subscribe. Only a small percentage of viewers of these videos are subscribers, and subscribing means a great deal to this channel. As always, please engage in the discussion after the video in the comment section below, where you'll also find some links to my Instagram, some helpful hints and tips on looking after your watches, as well as some affiliate links to the tools I use in making these videos. So, the London Watch Show, what did I think? Was it worth the trek from the West Midlands down to the Big Smoke? Well, London is full of hidden gems, and at the end I'll share some of the watches that I tried on and loved away from the show. I've thought long and hard on how to cover the show. It was never a case of I wouldn't. I mean, I'm a kind of watch journalist at the end of the day, and I like to share my experiences. But I didn't want to go laden and with an entourage, camera gear and the fluffy microphones. It was just about me, my wife and my iPhone. I wanted to feel the experience for myself and not see everything through a camera. I do enough of that with my kids' sports events. Now you may see a few photos or videos of the event through this presentation. Some are mine, but I'll ensure credit is offered for any third-party clips. Because at the end of the day, I didn't actually take that much content. So where to start? The waiting, the anticipation, and the enthusiastic upselling from Paul Thorpe for the event. An event that's been knocked about a bit by the Rona, but finally got its weekend, this weekend. And for me, it started in the queue on the Saturday morning, a beautiful sunny morning. The event was due to kick off at 11 AM for all ticket holders, but we're going nowhere fast. This was probably the worst part of the event, but I will say that it was good that the show stuck to its guns on the security front and not just opened the floodgates. However, I was disappointed to see that a second queue had been allowed to form with people without tickets, holding everything up really. Now, while in the queue, I met a gentleman wearing a Tudor Black Bay ceramic. Yeah, the new one. It looked really cool and I immediately knew what it was. And to be fair to him, he took it off the wrist and let me wear it. Now we then had a good natter about watches, which was great. It was at this point where I took my Speedmaster out of my pocket and put it back on the wrist, as we chatted some more. Now on the run-up I'd listened to Paul Thorpe's videos about not being a victim, so I thought I'd be careful and keep the Speedy in my pocket. But having seen a number of Daytonas and Submariners on wrists of others in the queue, I felt pretty safe and the eyes would fall elsewhere. Once inside, we made for the VIP area for refreshment and something to eat. Breakfast was a long time ago. And while at the bar, a guy leant over and asked, "Are you from Chelmsford?" Now disappointingly I wasn't. And I said I've got one of those faces and get that quite often. Maybe he'd seen me somewhere else. I wonder. Anyway, so with beverages in hand we go and sit at the table and take the weight off. And within minutes Brittany and her fella turned up and sat down with us. Now we had a good chat about this and that, not really about our channels, just two couples at a random event. I think she was glad just to see another female at the event and tried talking to Mrs. the English Watch. And then shortly after, I thought, here comes Ricky. So Ricky from the Scottish Watches walked over with Dave and they came and sat with us also. Result, I'm thinking. They had another friend with them, Nen I think his name was. I had a great chat with Dave, also known as Floatlight, and he let me try on his Moser Streamliner centre seconds with that amazing green dial. And this watch was super cool, and when I was in Harrods on Sunday, I mentioned this to the guy behind the Moser counter. He says, Dave must be very well connected. Well, I guess so, but he also has to pony up for the cash. So the conversation was pretty diverse, including why the Midlands doesn't have a red bar presence, and something I'd be really interested in having a conversation over at a later date. Later on we bumped into them again and my wife commented to me about Ricky's arm muscles, but also said his eyebrows were in a bit of a state. Too much tweezer time maybe. Now as a bloke, this is all over my head. Funny though, I just shook their hands and wished them well. We walked around the show and I have to say the stalls were all pretty busy. In fact I'd say uncomfortably so. I found it pretty hard to get close, which is not everyone's cup of tea lately, is it? I'm not the pushy type either. However, I did spend some time looking at some vintage Speedmasters on one of the stalls. And it's at that point I met one of my viewers who contacted me on Instagram recently. His handle is Some11T, and he was trying on a dressy Omega chronograph in the late 90s. He spotted me and said hello, and introduced his friend to me also. That took me a little by surprise, but I was flattered nonetheless. My wife found it very amusing. We had a brief discussion about the watch, but I don't think he bought it. And this happened a number of times as we walked around. I'm so glad you guys reached out and said hello. It's great to meet new and interesting people, and I had a few great conversations with some of you. Plus a photo with Night Wrist Watchman, and that was more of a treat for me than him, I can say. You can see the photo on Instagram. Later on, we were having lunch in Starbucks, and a gentleman started up a conversation about the channel. He was there with his lad and told me about his Explorer 2 with the black dial. Very cool watch, and he didn't have to wait too long for it either. Just goes to show, I guess. His lesson to success appeared to be keeping the value of his watches on the QT. I like his style. So, my thoughts on the show generally. Well, for me, I love meeting the fans of the channel, and I love the interactions I had with the other content providers. I'm quite normally shy, so not one to doorstep conversations. And at one point I saw Ricky, Dave talking to Adrian from Bark and Jack and Paul Thorpe all at the same time. Now that could have been a great photo opportunity, but I was just happy to be there. Happy to put faces onto the voices and see the guys in real life. It was good to see Roman Sharp and Nico, David Khalil and Jonathan from the Edinburgh Watch Company. Few downsides? Well, Q aside, I'd say as an event this was more like a used watch fair. Not a big brand presentation format as you might get at Geneva or like the IWC event I went to the other week. I've been to a few watch and clock fairs in the past, and this felt like just a little level up due to the values involved. And if it wasn't for the community on YouTube, it's unlikely this would have been such a success. Now most of the watches there were Rolex, and once you'd seen one cabinet full of Daytonas, you'd seen them all. There were other watches like iced out APs and Richard Milles, but not a lot of diversity on the whole. I was also hoping there would be more accessory retailers with straps, cases and even coffee. Now there are some amazing artisan leather strap makers in the UK that would have done well, I think, giving people a bit more to buy at an affordable level. Maybe next time. The only other gripe was with the staging. The stage itself was okay, but unless you were within 6 feet of it, you couldn't hear. There was also no attempt to keep to the itinerary for the speakers either. Paul should have been on at 2:30, but by 4 PM he was still a no-show, so we left at that point, having only heard the lady from the Stolen Watch Register. Instead, we decided to head to Bond Street and walk through the Burlington Arcade. This was a first for both of us, and I was amazed at the brands and the boutiques on offer. It was towards the end of the trading day, so we weren't able to really go in any of the stores. Later on, we checked out the after party, as we had VIP tickets. The band were pretty good, and I guess they liked the dancers with the glittery ball heads, but it had a bit of a works do feel about it, so we didn't really stay. What struck me most about the event was the amount of hospitality staff carrying trays of meat with sticks. I hope everyone was hungry. We topped the night off with cocktails on the top of the Hilton on the floor 28. We couldn't have asked for a better end to the evening. Now, getting back to the other watches. On Sunday, we only had a few hours, so decided to head for Harrods. A bit obvious, but when in London. And after winding our way through the maze of luxury jewellery, we made it to the watch section, where I've never really been before, and I wasn't disappointed. The first boutique we entered was the Audemars Piguet. Now clearly there would be no Royal Oaks to show, or try, but I was taken by the Code 1159 chronograph in rose gold on a black dial. The lady in there didn't size me up. They clearly get all walks of life in there, and I may have been a closet millionaire, and I think my wife still wakes up hoping that to be true. So I sit down at the desk and we talk about the watch. I'm gushing over the dome crystal and the flyback chronograph hand, and it was all lovely and good-natured. I asked how much this one retails for, and she then referred to its investment value, which made me chuckle a little. I think it was about £43,000 or close. Beautiful, but about £35,000 too much for me. Moving on, we found ourselves in the JLC boutique. Now I tried on a trio of Masters, all in rose gold of course. I think I've decided my next watch will be gold. I don't know when I'll be able to afford it, but that's where I'm going. Maybe I'll end up with the perfect trio of my Submariner, the Speedy and one of these. Out of all of them, I felt the Geographic had the best size and interest. Still out of reach, but half the price of the AP. I find the best aspect of buying a watch is looking. It costs nothing and the possibilities are endless. After that it started to rain and we had to leave to get the train home. A very pleasant and enjoyable break. Away, no kids, no hassle, just things we enjoy. And I'll be back. Oh yes, London, we'll be back. Now, if you like this video, please hit the thumbs up, please like it. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more of these, and please leave any comments at the end. Your experience of the London Watch Show or the watches mentioned, I'll be really interested. Anyway, I'm Andy, this has been The English Watch. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.